Hello and welcome to my 15th video on how to create your own minigames. In this video I'll be showing you how to make a sweeper minigame. So like that Wipeout minigame where a spinner spins around and knocks you off the platform. So to start off I'm just going to build it, and like usual I'm just going to speed up the video until I'm done. Alright, so what I did here was I built a little platform for them to stand on, and then in the middle of the top of the platform I put a teleport. And this way when I rotated all of these, it made it so they're all going to be facing the middle when they spawn, and that's just something I wanted to do. You don't have to do that, but that's just something I did if you wanted to know. Now the reason why I kept the sweeper out of here is because I want to show you how it's going to work. I don't want to just skip through this part because it's kind of important. So some of you I'm sure know about C-frame and some of you don't, but C-frame is basically like positioning with vector 3, but it also includes rotation. But the thing is with setting the C-frame constantly, here I'll show you an example. If I were to set the C-frame for it to rotate like this, sure it looks smooth and whatnot, but touched events don't fire when it's spinning with C-frame. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make this spinner like this, and I'm not going to anchor it. I'm also going to make can't collide false so they can't collide with it. And the reason why I'm not going to be anchoring it is because I'm going to be using body movers to control it. So in order to stop it from falling with gravity, I'm going to use a body velocity, and for the max force I'm just going to set it to 0, infinity, and 0, and then the velocity 0, 0, 0. So what this is going to do is it's going to hold the velocity of the part at 0 on the y-axis only. That's why only the y-axis has infinity here. So if I go to run it, you'll see even though it's not anchored, it won't fall. And the reason why I didn't use a body position is so I can move the map around whenever I want and it doesn't mess it up. So that's for the holding it up, and to rotate it I'm just going to use a body angular velocity. Same thing here, I'm going to set the max force to 0, infinity, 0. And this is one of the reasons why I kept the part can collide false, is because if the player manages to hit it, it'll start spinning uncontrollably either this way or that way, and I don't want that. So yeah, that's all I need to do really. If you look at it now, it spins just like you'd expect it. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to group up the teleports. Name the model teleports. And I'm going to group the rest except for the spinner. I'm going to call it platforms. And the spinner part, I'll call it spinner, or the sweeper. You can call it whatever you want, as long as in your script you remember to call it by whatever you name it here. So now I'm going to take the minigame that's most similar to this and just copy it to workspace. Now I'm going to delete everything except for the script and the minigame info. Now for the objective, I'm going to say don't get hit by the sweeper. I'm also going to be muting my mic a lot in this video because my new keyboard is actually really loud and it's hard to edit it out. So I'll just be muting it so you don't have to listen to me type. So I'm going to try to explain everything before typing, and then if I need to, I'll do a voiceover when it's muted. I'll set the time to 30 seconds. So they need to survive for 30 seconds, and I'll move the platforms. Oh, where'd my teleports go? Is it in oh, it's in platforms. Okay. So all I did was undid all my changes, found my teleports, take the platforms, the spinner, cut it, and I'm pasting it into disappearing plates. I'll drag this out here because that's where it needs to be, and I'll rename it Sweeper. Alright, so now I'm going to get into scripting it. Now I'm going to show a GIF up on the screen here. It's this minigame is actually kind of complicated to make, surprisingly, because if I just spin this part on the server, you'll see that there's lag, and what the player sees on their screen is what the server saw in the past. So what happens is the server will hit them, but on the player screen it hasn't hit them yet, and then it would knock them off. But on their screen, as you'll be able to see, is the sweeper never actually hit them, or it didn't look like it did anyways. So to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have first I'll set the angular velocity to 0, because when the minigame starts I don't want it to be moving, because for a brief time period, 3 seconds, the players will be all frozen here and they can't try to avoid this. So I'm just going to keep it at 0 for now. Okay, so I'm going to start by making a module script, and the reason why I'm using a module script is because I want both the server and the client to be running the same script, and this way if you want to change how your spinner behaves, like you could have it speed up and then slow down, or you could have it slow down and then speed up again. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it constantly speed up. So I'll call this spinner control. You can name it whatever you want, as long as you remember what it's called. So here I'm going to do a spawn. Spawn is basically the same thing as a quarantine, it's just faster to type from what I know. I could be wrong, but I've been using spawn a lot more lately than I have been using quarantines. So here I'm just going to do a for loop for I equals 0 to, need to find a max speed here, because I don't want the spinner to go so fast that you can't even avoid it. Let's try 8. That's pretty fast. I'll try 10. Okay, that's too fast. Okay, I'll do 5. Yeah, that should be fast enough. Oh, I did 6. But this could be different depending on how big you made your minigame, so I suggest testing the size out. So I did 6. So 0 to 6, and I'm going to have it speed up by 0.1 every time. So all I gotta do here is I'll define the angular velocity up here. I'll explain that in a second. So what I did is script.parent wait for child body angular velocity. What wait for child is, it's basically the same thing as find first child, but if the child doesn't exist, it'll wait for the object with that name to pop up in here. So you could also define a second parameter for how many seconds it takes until it just totally discards it. And I'll do 2 seconds. Angular velocity dot angular velocity, because that's a property over here, equals vector3.new 0 I 0. What this is going to be is 0 to 6 by step of 0.1. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, all the way up to 6. And I'll make it wait every 0.2 seconds. And now in my minigame script, I'll get rid of all the disappearing plates things. And here I'll require the spinner control. Script.parent. So now if I run it, nothing will happen because my script's disabled. But if I go to enable it, there we go. That's exactly what I wanted. So now all I got to do is make it so the client sees the same thing. So what's going to happen is my minigame script here, it's going to clone a local script into each of the contestants' characters, and that local script is going to do the same thing. It's going to require this, and then it's going to run the touched event. Now I will warn you that if you have some kind of anti-exploit in place, it will probably fire a false positive here, because the client will be controlling the velocity of the player. So I'm going to start with that. I'll insert the local script and I'll call it spinner client. Sorry about that, I had an interruption. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by cloning the spinner, and before that I gotta define the minigame. And then spinner is obviously minigame.spinner. Now I gotta clone it and replace it. I'll do that real quick and then I'll explain it. Alright, so what I do here is I clone this spinner and then I parent it to the minigame, and after that I'll destroy the original spinner. So this way the player themselves will see a smooth version of the spinner spinning. Whenever they touch it, they'll go flying off, but I didn't get the touching part done. And then you got to make sure to require the clones spinner control. I think that's what I called it. Yeah, require the clone spinner control, not the actual spinner control, because you destroy it. So be careful with that. And now I'm just going to do the touched function. So this is pretty simple. We'll do clone.touched. Alright, so basically what I did here is I just get when the clone was touched. If the hit is part of the current player's character, then I'm going to be flinging the player, and here I'll show you. So I'm going to get where this spinner is, so this is its position right here, and I'll be subtracting it from where the player is standing, and that will give me a vector for the direction that I gotta fling the player. So to do that, I'll just do that right now. So this is the subtraction here. Just do dot unit. What dot unit is, it just returns the vector 3 if the magnitude is equal to 1. So now I just need to multiply this by how fast I want them to go. I'll remove this later and I'll show you what happens. So here's what happens if you don't put dot unit. It'll be a super big vector, so when you get flung real fast. First I gotta put the spinner client into the actual contestants. That's really easy. All you gotta do is loop through minigame info.temp contestants. And then for each contestant, just clone the spinner client into their character. Remember, V is the object value, not the player. Alright, so that's done. Make sure you disable your spinner client. What I did is I just cloned it, parented it to their character, and then I enabled the script. So now we should be good to move the sweeper into our minigames folder. I'll move soccer out because we're not testing that one anymore. And play. Alright, so don't get hit by the sweeper. I'll try jumping over it a few times. Oh, that sped up pretty fast. Okay, so it's not launching fast enough. So what I'll do is I'll send the, I'll make them sit. That should be enough. Just because there's a bit of friction on their, I can't show you. There's a bit of friction on their feet, and I think that's what's stopping them from getting flung. So I'll just make their humanoid sit. Alright, let's see how this goes. I'm just gonna let myself get hit right away. Just like that, I get flying, sent flying. I'm gonna test one more time. I wanna see what happens if I hold space when I get hit. Okay, even if you're holding space, you can't escape the force that's hitting you. So that's good. Yeah, that's it. That's how you make a sweeper minigame. If you want, you could just add a kill part at the bottom. It should work normally. Here, I'll try to survive, make sure the whole thing works. Alright, that might be a little bit too fast. So this is another perk why we use the module script, because we don't need to copy and paste anything. So I'll go into spinner control and I'll change the max speed to maybe 4. Alright, I made it just in time. Did not fall. Yeah, we don't need to change any of the winning messages because they're basically exactly the same as if you were playing disappearing plates. That's part of the reason why I chose disappearing plates. Oh yeah, there's one more thing. I'll have it if you're last one standing, then you win. What I'll do is, if the number of contestants is equal to 1, they'll get 10 points. And if there's more than one person, they'll just get their regular 5 points. So all I did was copy that there. I'm going to copy this as well. And I'm going to define B as the first player inside of the 10 contestants. Give them 10 points. And I'll do last one standing. So I'll test this with 2 players. And I'll also go into my main minigame so it doesn't start it without 2 players. Okay, so something went wrong here. Oh, I was checking if there were no players left standing. So this should work. Game will end, and it should say I was the last one standing, and I'll earn 10 points. There. Oh, okay. Something went wrong. There's no error. Oh, gotta do .value here. There we go. Last one standing. I earned 0 points on this screen, and I earned 10 on the other. Perfect. Alright, so that's how you make a super minigame. I don't know where to go with this series anymore, so I'll leave a screenshot up on when I edit the video. I'll leave a screenshot here posting where I've been. I want to thank Knocker345 for letting you all know where I've been and what I've been up to. He goes by the Blue Gamer on YouTube. Part of his message, he left my Discord link in the comment, and if you guys want to get a hold of me, it's a lot easier to do so through my Discord. Just send me a direct message or leave a message in the chat and I'll eventually see it. But if you don't want to do that, feel free to comment. I'll start actively checking that again, and I'll see you in the next one.